It's overtime, Super Bowl Levi, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, 67,000 on their feet, not one of them sitting. The San Francisco 49ers have the football and the chance to end a dynasty. Their offensive line shifts left. The quarterback drops back, and then number 56, the big one crashing off the right edge, explodes past the tackle, closes the gap in 2 strides, and forces a rushed throw that falls incomplete. Third down, the Chiefs hold. 3 plays later, Patrick Mahomes finds Mecole Hardman and Kansas City wins. Number 56 jogs off the field, looks straight up at the lights and says nothing. Because 4,000 miles away, in a country most of his teammates have never visited, is where this story really begins. He is 6'4". He weighs 63s at the NFL combine. He ran a 4.71 second 40-yard dash and 66 pounds, posted a 38-inch vertical. At West Lafayette High School in Indiana, he recorded 41 sacks. 41. He was named Defensive Player of the Year at the U.S. Army All-American game. As a Purdue freshman, he started all 12 games and put up 7.5 sacks. His NFL career, 30 and 5 sacks, 2 Super Bowl rings, and a 4-year, $93 million extension signed in the summer of 2025. But what you probably didn't know is that until he was 13 years old, this kid had never touched a football, not once. He grew up in Athens, Greece, where his father had one strict rule: no football. Too dangerous, too barbaric. His father had tried it once at the University of Miami and ended up in surgery with a skull fracture. So George played water polo instead, and not just recreationally. He was a goalkeeper for Greece's under-16 national team. And then, one June in 2014, his father boarded a plane to the island of Kos to deliver a speech at an engineering conference. He never came home. George was 13 years old, and a game his father told him never to play became the thing that kept him standing. In this video, you're going to find out how a kid raised in Athens ended up as a first-round pick in Las Vegas. You're going to find out why choosing Purdue over Alabama was never really about football. And you're going to find out what George does every single time he sacks a quarterback and why. But before we break this down for you, let us know where you're watching from and what time it is in your part of the world right now. So how does a kid born in Athens, Greece, end up as one of the most dominant edge rushers in the NFL? You have to start with his father. George Karlaftis, everyone called him Matthew, was the kind of man who made every room feel smaller when he walked in. He grew up in Greece, competed in javelin and track and field at a high level, and was good enough to earn his way to the University of Miami on an academic scholarship. That's where football almost ended the story before it started. During his very first practice with the Hurricanes, Matthew took a hit, suffered a traumatic skull fracture, and had surgery. He never played again. And from that point forward, he made sure his kids knew exactly what this sport could do to a person. Matthew earned his civil engineering degree at Miami, then came back to Purdue for his doctorate. That's where he met Amy Smith, a West Lafayette girl and the all-time leading scorer in basketball at her high school, who happened to be a freshman at Purdue when Matthew arrived. They got married, and instead of settling in Indiana, they went back to Athens. Matthew took a position as a professor at the National Technical University. They built a real life there. 4 kids: Annie, George, Yanni, and Nico. Amy spoke English at home, but everything else, the culture, the food, the weekends, the smell of the Mediterranean in summer, that was Greece. George was born on April 3, 2001, and grew up doing what Athenian kids do: soccer in the streets, basketball, swimming, track, and water polo. He joined the youth program at Panathinaikos, one of the biggest clubs in the country, and developed fast as a goalkeeper. He had the size, the reflexes, the instinct for reading where everything is going before it gets there. By 12, he was playing for the Greek national under-16 team. His younger brother Yanni was winning judo world championships. Their mother was driving them across the city to practices 6 days a week. And Matthew was building a career that, by the spring of 2014, was about to reach its peak. In early June 2014, Matthew Karlaftis traveled to the island of Kos to deliver a speech at a civil engineering conference. He never delivered it. He was found at his hotel room, a heart attack at 44. The same day he died, the university formally notified his department. Matthew Karlaftis had been granted tenure. He never found out. Amy made the call that no one wants to have to make. She packed up their entire life, took her 4 kids, and flew back to West Lafayette, back to family, back to the support system, back to the town where Purdue sits and where she and Matthew had first found each other. George was 13. He had grown up speaking Greek, playing water polo, living in a city built on history. Now he was standing in Indiana, starting 8th grade, trying to figure out who he was without the man who had always been the answer to that question. Amy would say it plainly years later. From that moment on, our lives just changed in an instant. And then, I think George took the majority of the pain on his shoulders, whether that's what he should have done or not. He enrolled at West Lafayette High School. And because some friends were doing it, he went out for the football team. That was the entire reason. Friends asked him to come. He had no background in the sport, no context, no muscle memory, nothing. The first time he sacked a quarterback in practice, he stood up, looked around at everyone and asked, "What do I do now?" That moment, which Amy has retold enough times that it's become part of the family's story, says everything about where he was starting from. Here was a kid who had just done something instinctively brilliant, and he genuinely did not know it yet. He would figure it out, faster than anyone expected. By his sophomore year, college programs were already calling. By his junior year, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Ohio State were all in the picture. He finished his high school career with 41 sacks, won back-to-back state championships in the shot put, led West Lafayette to the Indiana Class 3A state title, and was named Defensive Player of the Year at the 2019 U.S. Army All-American Game. He graduated a semester early, January 2019, and enrolled at Purdue immediately. The reason he chose Purdue over the powerhouses is the part people always get wrong. It wasn't scheme. It wasn't the depth chart. It was Amy. West Lafayette was home. After everything that had happened in the 5 years since COS, he was not leaving as a true freshman in 2019. He started all 12 games and recorded 7.5 sacks, second team All-Big Ten as a teenager. His sophomore year was swallowed by COVID. 3 games, a positive test, most of the season gone. He came back in 2021, recorded 4.5 sacks, earned first-team All-American honors, and became a Ted Hendricks Award finalist, given annually to the nation's best defensive end. He declared for the draft after his junior year. The film was there, the measurables were there, Kansas City was watching. April 28, 2022, Las Vegas, the NFL draft at Allegiant Stadium, the same building where 2 years later he would be forcing incomplete passes in overtime of the Super Bowl. George was there in person with Amy. The first round moved through the board, pick 27. Jacksonville takes Devin Lloyd, linebacker out Utah. Pick 20, Green Bay takes Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle from Georgia, pick 29. New England takes Cole Strange, a guard out of Chattanooga. The Chiefs are on the clock at 30. The phone rings. It is Kansas City. Amy described the moment later, her voice catching. He was so ecstatic. Just the smile on his face, it was just unbelievable. He flew to Kansas City and got to work. As a rookie, he started all 17 regular season games, one of only 3 players to do that in the first year of the 17-game NFL schedule, and finished with 6 sacks and 7 passes defended. Chiefs won Super Bowl LeVee. His second year, he posted 10.5 sacks, tied for the most on the defense with Chris Jones, and in Super Bowl LeVee recorded 5 tackles and a fumble recovery when it mattered most. Back-to-back rings. His third season, he led the Chiefs with 8 sacks, and in the summer of 2025, Kansas City gave him a 4-year extension worth $93 million and $62 million guaranteed. The kid who asked, "What do I do now?" is now the answer to that question for the entire defense. And after every sack, every single one, George Karlaftis looks up, not at the scoreboard, not at the crowd, up. Amy was asked about it once and she said it without hesitation. I think when he gets a sack, he looks up, and that drives him for sure. Matthew Karlaftis never got to see any of this. He never got to see the son he tried to protect from this game become one of the best in the world at it. He never got the tenure announcement he had spent his entire career working toward. And George carries all of it, not as a burden, but as direction. From the streets of Athens to the turf of Arrowhead, from goalkeeper for the Greek national water polo team to first-round pick in Las Vegas, from a 13-year-old who buried his father and crossed an ocean to a man who has made quarterbacks wish they never lined up across from him. From a kid who got his first sack and asked what to do next, to a player who does it in Super Bowl overtime and says nothing because he already knows exactly what it means. George Karlaftis, number 56, a Kansas City Chief, and every time he looks up after a sack, Matthew Karlaftis gets his answer too.